All right, so this is an episode of the Stalman podcast that usually this is mostly an audio-only show, and I don't think podcasts belong in video form, but we're doing one anyway because we have a YouTuber here, Armando. We're going to talk about tech and filmmaking and all these things. For the full version, go to stallmanpodcast.com, and that's like the audio has a little bit more. Our camera's actually cut out part of time through this. But yeah, stallmanpodcast.com for the real thing, and yeah, hope you enjoy it. All right, this week we're going to talk about tech, filmmaking, and who knows what else with Armando, who I've been binging your videos lately.
Thanks, man.
So yeah, I'm very into your content. And the reason for it, which let's get into this towards the end of the show today, but is the C200, which is a camera I'm eyeing and I love and might be my next camera.
I have a lot to talk about that.
But I also know that it's not a camera that most people listening are probably looking to buying because it's relatively expensive. So let's start at the wider end of things. Which is actually, it's like a funny, it's a thing I'm even running into with the podcast that I have to consider that like, as I want to go like to bigger, more professional ends of filmmaking, I also have to realize that's like a narrower group of people. There's less people that are even interested in going there.
I have a story about that.
Okay.
I just published a video on a tripod, Sackler tripod.
Yeah. That's, which I've tried it and I love it.
$2,400.
Yeah.
The comments, like, you're crazy. What is this? Like, I'm never going to buy a $2,400 tripod. But the funny thing is, a tripod like that in the professional world is inexpensive.
Right.
It's like budget.
Totally. And the people that that is targeted for, everybody that's seen that tripod in real life is like, this changes everything.
Oh, yeah.
This is the new standard and like, I'm never going to use anything else. But yeah, to the mainstream public, it's like, no, thank you. I'm never, ever going to look at those.
They say, I'm waiting for the Chinese copy.
Totally.
That's what they say.
I've thought about this a bit for like, for Casey Neistat, for example. I think it's smart of him to do, so much of his stuff is about consumer tech. Right. Even though, he can shoot on whatever he wants, like his A cam in studio, I think is still, an affordable Canon or a Sony or whatever.
Yeah,
like it's a consumer camera. But that camera's in the same place all day. So it could be an Alexa for all he likes. It could be a C200. Right. But there's, I think, something useful if you're talking to a wider audience about talking about things that is accessible to them.
Of course.
That's so like inside baseball about what this show's going to be. So I don't know, not a rabbit hole we need to go down. Oh, I do have to remember at some point to thank Aperture, who lent us some lights today, which is why in the YouTube version of this, it looks so good. So if you're listening to the audio, check out the video too, because the lighting's pretty nice. But, companies like Aperture make me think about how much things are changing. Like, okay, this is all kind of obvious, but I always feel like we have to remember how interesting and exciting it is that like a couple of guys like us that are just, kind of nobodies can pick up a camera and make something that looks pretty amazing. Right. And, a lot of it is, being fortunate to start doing this at a time where technology is moving really quickly. So yeah, the example of Aperture is like, all of a sudden, how do you say it? Do you say Aperture?
I say Aperture.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hate that spelling.
Me too. I've heard Aperture.
I always
you said that,
slightly like twist the middle letter just to like distinguish it from the camera setting. So they arrive and it's like, okay, before you could buy, say, HMIs, which are super expensive. Right. They look great, but like they're kind of a pain to use too. Like you got to make sure that they're like at the right temperature and like they take a while to warm up and again, they're expensive, or you're using hot lights that, draw tons of power and might set off your sprinkler system. All these things come in where it's like, it's affordable, it's powerful, and it looks good. Yeah. And small, like all these things at once. But it's happening in every area at the same time. Microphones start being able to compete with higher end ones. Like, what are you talking into right now?
It's the Sennheiser 416.
The good one.
Yeah.
On a recent episode, we did an all audio podcast that was like how to get great audio.
I heard that one.
Oh,
yeah, that was good.
And we talked a lot about Sennheiser. And then, so now Deity, which is like a spinoff of Aperture, is doing the, what is it called? S Mic 2?
Oh God, something Pro, right? S3 Pro. I don't remember.
Okay, I don't remember anything. I've listening to the samples and stuff. It's basically targeted to effectively match that Sennheiser for a third of the price or something.
Right. It's like cameras.
It's getting crazy.
Yeah, cameras nowadays. I remember when I picked up my first professional camera. It was the Canon, what was it, the XL2. I saved all my money for it. I think it was like $4,000, $5,000 for it. I worked all summer for it because that was like one of the first like entry-level pro cameras that actually shot at 24 frames per second and had built-in XLRs.
That was a big deal at the time.
It was a big deal. And, you know, obviously 480p and mini DVs, right? But if you look at that tech and compare it to what's available, I mean, like the iPhone, to a degree, it's like almost blows it out of the water.
Yeah, right.
You know? But everything is so accessible now to young filmmakers. And it's cool because I just saw a short film that was done by these like high school kids. And it was mind-blowing how well it was shot. And it's all because of the gear that's available today and accessible at a price point that was just like unheard of before.
Totally.
Which is amazing.
Well, yeah, I think there's sometimes, I mean, this is a common theme of mine, but like there can be this voice, this loud voice on the internet of like, don't pay too much attention to gear because, and it's valid. It can be distracting. Yeah. You can spend all your time focused on buying the next thing and like just improving your image quality or whatever by acquiring new stuff. But like, I like to be a bit of the opposite voice of like, it also can make a very real difference. And like, you know, talking about like what kids in high school can make, it is because of the gear. Right. You know, it's because an iPhone camera can produce something that like you can shoot a TV commercial. You wouldn't, but you sort of can.
Right. But here's a little fun fact. When I borrowed the Alexa Mini, I grabbed it and I was just using it around my house like a camcorder, right? That footage looked like crap, dude.
Oh.
Yeah. So even with the most amazing camera, just running it like...
So what about it? Like, what do you think? Why did it look bad?
It just looked like a DSLR. And it was because, I mean, the lighting was all over the place. It was just a mixture of a lot of different things. I mean, I was just messing around with it. I was literally just going around my house filming different types of things. And I just come to realize, I mean, this is not something new, but here's the thing, you can get the worst camera, right? And you put it in the right hands of somebody who knows what they're doing,
for sure,
lights a scene, and just makes this amazing footage. Like, you know Ash Taylor, right? He's done wonders with cameras that...
For sure, yeah.
That people have red cameras that don't even match to his quality, right? So, to me, it's like you can get the most expensive camera, but if you don't know what you're doing, right? It's not... Here's the thing, like, buying an Arri Alexa Mini is not going to automatically make... It's not like that magic... Like, this is it.
But I want to buy my way into being good.
I want to believe that's the case, right? We all do. And that's the thing. I think that's the battle that I see a lot with these young filmmakers is everybody wants that that expensive camera, right? That they want to keep buying more gear or thinking that they're going to become better filmmakers because they see other people using that gear. But truth be told is like a lot of times when I shoot stuff, when I film stuff, I love when I get the comments, man, did you use your C200 with this? No. I use my R. Yeah. You know, the camera that everybody hates.
Totally, yeah. But I mean, I can see it when I look at your A-roll. So if anybody hasn't, you know, go take a look at Mondo Bites on YouTube. You've lit your studio in a way that pretty much anything is going to look good.
Right.
You looked at your lighting ratios and you're like, okay, what's coming on my face is at this level and my backlight's at this level. And, you know, you've set it all so that I think an iPhone video would probably look great. Like it really doesn't matter that much because you lit it well. I mean, actually, could you tell me a bit about that? Like, how did you approach your studio lighting setup?
A lot of trial and error. Actually, a friend of mine, Rubidium, I think you follow him too.
Yeah, I've been watching an awesome all his C200 videos.
Yeah, so he actually came down to my home studio and kind of did like a makeover, you know?
Oh, cool.
And I mean, a lot of it is just learning. I'm not an expert, by the way.
Also great A-roll. I love his face and his shots looks like exceptional. Looks better than most YouTubers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, his stuff is awesome. I mean, he's a DP. He knows his stuff. For me, it's trial and error, learning, watching other videos, experimenting, trying new things. And I think that goes back to a lot of times where people are just obsessed with gear. Instead of being so obsessed with gear, go out and use your gear.
Right.
Like, you know, make it the best you can. Like there's these guys, I'm sure you've heard of them. They're actually from Canada. Hardware Canucks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Those guys, not Dimitri, his other partner.
I haven't met them in person yet. They're on the other side of the country. But,
okay. Eber. He uses a C100 and beautiful footage. And now if you look at the C100 on paper, like the codec is terrible, like on paper.
Yeah.
But you can still get a beautiful image. And that's the thing. It's like we all obsess over gear. And don't get me wrong, I do the same thing too. I'm the one that sometimes stirs the pot on Twitter, just to get reactions and stuff. I mean, it's kind of what we do, or I do.
Well, I think what's especially useful though is I think that you should spend the time to understand the gear.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you need to go buy the best stuff. It's just like figure out what those differences are. Understand what you're missing out on by having something cheaper. Like you should know the difference between the, EOS R that you're shooting on and the C200 that you want, because then you'll know how to better like compensate for the things that are missing on the camera that you currently own.
Right.
And I think people shouldn't be afraid to make that deep dive into like really understand your tech, understand your tools, like if you're a painter, you should understand the difference between all your brushes, reading the manual. That's such a it's so boring and basic, but like sometimes people just need to be reminded, if you know how to use your gear, you will do so much better work.
It's true. Yeah, no, it's really true. I've actually learned stuff by reading the manual, and it's like, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know there was a tracking mode. Oh, this is cool. So yeah, reading the manual. As much as I don't like to do it, it does. You do find some little golden
doing your homework
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I just got a message from Jesse Driftwood.
Oh.
That he's free. Should we pull in a special guest?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. This is a podcast first. We're having a surprise guest joining at the last possible minute. Jesse Driftwood is here. Hi, Jesse.
Hello. Welcome. I mean, not welcome. Welcome me.
Thanks for welcoming us. This is great. And you've been on the show before talking about Instagram stories, but
we have.
I wanted to suck you into this because we've been tweeting back and forth, all three of us, because Jesse and I are very interested in buying C200s. And Armando has all the best videos for it on YouTube. So we've both been binging your stuff lately. So Jesse, why are you interested in a C200? Why are your other cameras not good enough anymore?
That's a great question. And interestingly enough, it just hit me that camera is nearing 2 years old.
Yeah.
So this will probably be a first for me, where like there's a camera that I'm excited about, and it's not because it just came out and I need like this hot new thing. It's more like I'm at a point where I can both justify the expense and really see the benefits that it offers me.
And I've thought about that a little bit, the age that I'm like, do I want to buy a 2-year-old camera? But that is a time that is a nice thing about Canons, is that the update cycle is slower.
Yes.
Sometimes that's really frustrating. When I'm sitting there waiting for a new 5D and it's 2 years later than I thought, I'm annoyed, but I don't have this feeling that I'm missing out or that I made a mistake. And with Sony's, it's like every time you buy it, you never know if the next week...
you're 3 months from it being outdated. I've always found also that Canon cameras age particularly well. So I still have my original C100 and my 5D Mark III, which are both at least 6 years old now, I would guess. I bought both of those the day that they came out, and they both still perform extremely well. My 5D Mark III is still a completely, totally capable, fantastic photo camera. My C100 still to this day, every time I record something with it, the image blows me away. I'm just still so shocked at just how clean the image is, not just from a noise perspective or even a sharpness perspective, but just like dynamic range is really good, detail is really good, color is really good.
Something we talked about a bunch before you showed up is the color. I mean, so yeah, Armando did this great comparison with the Alexa lately, and C-Log is just designed to be easy to make beautiful, versus like S-Log for Sony. You have to massage it so much. You really got to work it.
And not that you can't do it with Sony. Obviously, you can make fantastic colors. It's just, it's more work.
So what were you doing with your C100 before? Like what was it used for, and now why is it not good? Like why has it fallen by the wayside?
So I ran a wedding video and photography business for, 7, 8 plus years. I don't do it anymore, which is kind of why I bought the C100 in the first place, was for weddings, and B, why I'm not using it as much anymore. It still gets the occasional use for me in a YouTube video, just like a talking head set up in the studio. And if I have like a random corporate job I need to do some like long form interviews, I'll use it for. But it just hasn't been getting used nearly as much for me these days with a lot of the kind of stuff that I like shooting.
Okay, but now you want to drop all this money on a C200. Yes. What makes it worth it for you now? I mean, I'll give my answer after, but...
Yeah, absolutely. The C200 is a camera for me that I think we all agree, it has a bit of that split personality. It's got the low end and the high end all in one, which is great for me because I both have the desire to stay quick, compact, compact from a workflow perspective, right? Like I like small manageable file sizes for a lot of the stuff I do. But then there's this other part of me that I really like doing higher end work. I like getting to work on bigger sets, even if that's like music videos or whatever, having the flexibility of it being able to, when I need it to, be a real heavy hitter in the image quality department. But also kind of functionally take the place of what I used a C100 for, but into a 4K world. The other big thing for me is my style has really shifted a lot since I got really into Instagram stories, which is I love shooting 60 frames. 60 frames is far and away my favorite frame rate to shoot at. And 4K at 60 frames is also my favorite. So anytime I've had the 1DX, I love shooting the 4K 60 frames. The GH5, same thing, 4K 60. Because I just love messing with footage in post. I love being able to speed ramp, slow down, speed up, and crop. Do all these things to the footage all at once. So now for me, when I pick up the C100, it actually doesn't fit into the way I like to shoot and edit videos. Because functionally it doesn't offer 60p. I know there's hacks, you can make the 60i kind of 60p, and I've done that. But for a long time now I've known I'm not going to update to anything unless it offers me 4K 60, because that's just what I love messing with in post.
Can I ask everybody a question here to solve my own problems? Is there a way, and I'm sure, Jesse, you're not doing this for your Instagram stories, but if I shoot 60 and then I want this to be played back at 24, is there a nice way to add a little motion blur into it? Is there a way to make it feel less aggressively faster shutter speed and faster frame rate? Or do I just kind of have to live with it looking 60?
So I know there have been some plugins that have tried to do this, but they are so processor heavy because it's not just those cheap motion blur plugins. It's just basically putting a crossfade between the, however many frames on either end, right, so you can see hard lines. It's not doing what actual motion blur does. Yeah. So there have been some apps that have tried to emulate that, but it's just it has to examine every frame and understand what was where. So to my knowledge, there isn't a consumer version available of that yet.
Right.
But for me, 60 frames a second, into 24 frames doesn't bother me one bit.
There is a thing in Premiere Pro. I don't remember what it's called, but you right-click on the footage, and it's something like smooth motion or something like that. There's a little checkbox. I'll try and send you a message later on that. But it actually it's kind of makes wonders. It makes the footage a lot better. All right. It helps quite a bit. I don't remember. I don't have Premiere in front of me, but I think it's smooth motion or something like that. But you right-click on the footage, and you just literally click on this checkbox. And it makes a pretty big difference. Off a bit.
Because it's so weird to me that there still is this community online of YouTubers that are I only shoot 60 because they want to watch it at 60, which that's super weird to me. I get it for slow down. To me.
But... Right.
Yeah, I would say I shoot 90 to 95% of everything that I do at 60 frames. I honestly, even when I'm in the studio, I just often forget to switch out of 60 frames. I just whatever. I record that whole talking head sequence at 60. I don't care.
So what are you going to do with this C200? Is this for your YouTube work or commercial work? Or
yeah,
what are you gonna do?
It's going to be in everything. I am going to make some Instagram stories in 4K, 60 frames raw, because I just think that's hysterical. So, but no, it's not going to be an Instagram camera for me. It is definitely going to be my YouTube in the studio camera. I'll basically always have it set up with sound, memory, batteries on a set of sticks in the studio for moving around, shooting, this. Yep. Me talking about a thing. It'll always be there. The other thing is when I'm out shooting YouTube stuff, so for that last transition video I did, it was a month and a half ago. I need to make a new video. I was showing everything of me shooting on the R, but I had my friend Christoph shooting me on a GH5. I actually didn't like that footage. It was like shot on a 24 to 105 on a speed booster, and it was missing focus. The colors were kind of bizarre, and then trying to match that to like the C-Log from the R. So this will become also, when I have someone else filming with me for YouTube, you take this camera and film in a very documentary style, kind of how the camera was built to be shot.
Right. Well,
and then higher end commercial stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of what I want it for, is like A-roll, like kind of lockdown on sticks. And I'm talking for all, I mean, right now we're doing a video version of this for YouTube as well. And we're running into that problem now that we have to set timers every 28 minutes to remember to go and reset all the cameras so we don't lose too much footage. I mean, when for the MKBHD episode on the YouTube version, there's about 20 minutes missing because both of our cameras stopped recording when we missed it.
Oh my god!
Well, right now the Sony camera actually stopped. We lost about, I guess, like 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. And something else that the C200 has, that has a little red light that you can see.
The red light seems like not a big deal,
which you can disable. But I mean, it's so useful when you're filming A-roll, because here's one thing, I don't know if you know about this, but if you're running low on batteries or if you're running low on memory, the light starts to flash. So it's letting you know,
fantastic.
like, hey,
I did not know.
within a few minutes, like, you need to pay attention to this. So.
Yeah. Well, actually, since we have you here and we're both about to be new customers, what are like more things we should know? One example, like one thing I'm planning on doing is I really dislike the top handle. And by the way, audience, I know this is boring to you because I'm shopping for this and you're not. But sorry, I hate the top handle. For one thing, especially because it doesn't come off quickly. You need an Allen key to remove it. And it's so big. So if you want to stick it on a gimbal, which it does, I tried it on my Ronin S and it fits, like it can work. But you have to take off the handle, and to do that, you need an Allen key, and I don't want to spend that time. So I want something that has a quick release, like a NATO. Do you usually use the default handle, or do you have any recommendations for?
When I do a lot of run and gun, I actually do use the default handle. I find it, I hate to use that word now, minimalist, you know, but I'm going more into this minimal where just, you know, if I go traveling, so the bag that I use actually supports the C200 already built. So I can just drop it in. Right. The only thing I have to take out is the side handle. That's it, which is literally you just screw it on and you're done. Yep. The monitor, everything, like, I can leave it alone. So to me, that was really important, because one thing I don't like to do is breaking down a camera. I don't like to take things apart and put them in, it's a hassle, right? I want to be able to grab my camera from the bag or box and be able to shoot within like a minute right away. So I find that the handle, because it's made out of plastic, it's a lot lightweight, it's easier to work with. Yes, you do need an Allen key, but because it does fit in my bag, I don't have to remove the handle anyway. Right. I mean, it does take unnecessary space, but it's okay.
But you do have a top plate of some kind.
I have the small rig top plate with the NATO, so I can quickly do that. But if I'm going to use it more like with a bunch of accessories, I actually prefer using a cage. I know it sounds crazy because like you're adding more stuff to it, but for me, it's a lot better. So I use this cage called, it's from Bright Tangerine, but it has so many. It looks nice. It's literally like Alexa Mini, you know? It has all the different accessories, and it works really well. And I can mount anything on there. I can mount like Teradeks and, you know, follow focus and just a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And it's funny though, this is the danger of going more into the cinema world. The more I look at it, the more like, well, obviously I need to get a wireless transmitter and wireless.
Right, you need to build up that $20,000 C200 rig.
No, exactly. It has to look like a giant rig. Otherwise, what's the point? But yeah, Jesse, do you have any specific accessories you feel like you'll need for it when you buy it?
Well, one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is a way to transport it in like a very minimal backpack, because I want to keep it built, and I want to be able to like ride around town on my one wheel and have it on my back, and and have no one know. And so I've been searching around for like ways that I can keep the camera built, and I stumbled across this older video from John Morrison at, I think it was one of his CES shows, and it was like a what's in my tech bag, and he had the Peak Design everyday backpack, and basically, you know, that top kind of garage at the top of it when you unlatch it. It just had the camera just fully assembled. There was no lens on it at the time, but it looked like it would have fit fine just inside of there. And so I'm kind of contemplating picking up one of those bags. I mean, I'd probably want to test it somewhere to see if that would fit, because I think it'd be kind of crazy to have a whole cinema camera in what looks just like a school backpack. And then, I could ride around town, I could find something to shoot, stop, just open that top hatch thing, and then pull the full camera out, be able to shoot, whether that's with monitor or just on the EVF,
Yeah,
sneak a couple of shots.
I totally endorse that idea. So, I mean, I have the 20-liter Peak Design, which I love. Like, I did a video about it. And I think he had the 30 in it. Like, you would need the bigger version.
Yeah, I think so too.
But that's part of why I want to go for the NATO handle is I feel like it'll fit much more. Like, part of the problem is the left right of that, like the microphone mount and the monitor mount widens the camera a bit too. Like, the whole size scales up quite a bit. That's why I feel like I need a handle that the only thing that won't be built, I'm hoping, is popping this handle on and off. And then other than that, I can just press the monitor against the body.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm very curious too about, I know some people take the monitor, tilty, swivelly mechanism off of that left-right bracket and just attach it to the camera without the handle. I've seen very little examples of people doing that online though. I want to see more builds of that. No handle, but monitor still on the...
See, it's so funny because so this is the problem because it's an expensive camera. Way less people own it. So there's way less... I think, Jesse, you and I were both saying on Twitter, I think we did watch all the videos. I don't think there are any C200 videos left to see. Still, then the audience demand for it is relatively smaller. So the meta talk about it is that us having this conversation right now, how many people listening, is this relevant at all for it? Because who's planning on buying this camera? It's a much smaller group.
You'd be surprised if you join the forums there's obviously Facebook groups and stuff. There's quite a bit of people in there. And we're talking like several thousand. So, and it's cool because they're always posting new stuff that I don't even know that gear that exists, like accessories and stuff like that.
So whoever's listening and in those forums, can you please take this podcast and share it to the C200 forums?
Are you guys buying the one with the EVF, right? You're not getting the B, the smaller one, right?
I'm getting the EVF because I feel like I need the touch screen for autofocus.
Well, you can still buy the body only and then buy the monitor separate. You can still do that.
Oh, you could still do the monitor?
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I care about the EVF at all.
Then you should get the B. Yeah, you'll save a lot. Yeah. Well, because you'll save money.
Yeah, but then I still need to spend
the
the
B
money
will
on the
save
monitor.
you money.
Right.
The B would save you money, and it'll balance on a gimbal just that much easier because there's not that weird protrusion.
Right.
But
I'm definitely getting the EVF model. I'm getting the EVF model.
Okay. What should I get?
I like shooting with an EVF. I really enjoy it. I think the GH5 was actually the camera that really sold me on that idea of grip in your hand, lens in your other hand, and just hold it to your face. I would do that a little bit with the C100, but the original C100 EVF is it's almost a joke at how bad it is. I still use it a bit, but...
I'll tell you what I tell people when they ask me, which one should I buy? The one with the EVF or the non? This is my answer every single time. It's, I don't use the EVF as much, maybe a couple times, 3 or 4 times out of the year. But when I use it, I'm so glad I got the EVF model. It's just I'm so happy. I would be upset if I didn't. So even if I only used it one time a year, it does come in clutch,
Yeah, and I think in particular, hearing all the reviews that the touch screen itself is pretty atrocious in, bright daylight makes me feel like if I want to have a somewhat minimal setup, I'm not bringing an external recorder, I'm not bringing some sort of monitor rig to it. I don't want to be in a scenario where I'm trying to get a shot outside and I honestly just don't know if it's right. I'd rather just at least be able to pop my eye on there and know for sure.
Man, this is exciting. Jesse, we're going to be in a whole new world soon. We'll be professionals finally.
Someone will respect us. We're not just YouTubers. We're
do you have anything else going on lately? What else are you into?
That's a great question. From a tech perspective, a work perspective?
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, I'm into all of it. Yeah, that's a good question. I think I've got a couple more corporate and commercial projects that I'm just finishing up. I think actually 2 before YouTube and Instagram becomes my only real thing. And I might take on or work on some other sets and projects if they seem interesting. But I mean booking jobs as a one-man band, I go shoot, I come home, I edit, I'll be done with that other than YouTube.
Yeah. It's funny that both you guys kind of got out of that. And for me, I'm still I have my sights set on big visions of doing bigger commercial work someday. It's a challenge. I mean, it's part of the reason that less content comes out for me is, I mean, I say this every episode. Yeah, my wife and I run a production company, and so we do lots of client work. And so like tons of the stuff we're making just doesn't get seen by any of our like audience because it's for the client. It's not that exciting to the general public. But you know, I would love to get that work better and better. I've been binging. If you guys listen to Wandering DP podcast at all,
I've heard of him.
No.
so yeah, he does really, you know, high-end commercial work, and it's good. Like his look is really beautiful. And part of the challenge is that like what he's talking about, just like we just did, it's like a level above what we're working at. It requires a crew. You know, when you're talking about lighting diffusion, it's usually a 12 by 12, which means that it's big and you need sandbags and people to carry it around.
Right. You need 12 people to set it up.
Yeah, that's why it's called a 12 by 12.
I think so.
Actually, you need 12 times 12 people just to. But when you see the results of like that kind of work, it makes me want to get closer to it, and like my version of it, and like whatever it is that, you know, just my wife and I can do as a 2-person crew. Like I'd love to get closer and closer to that like really refined, controlled look. So I don't know. That's a recommendation for a good podcast. Anybody looking for it? Cool. Well, thanks for joining in, Jesse.
Yeah, thanks for calling me. I'm going to make sure my record light's going. We're good. Talk soon, I guess. We'll send each other some selfies once the camera shows up.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. See you on Instagram.
It's a race to see who gets it first.
I'll bring it to Toronto.
Armando, I don't know when I'll see you, but someday.
We will, man. We'll chat soon.
For sure. All right. See you guys on the internet.
All right. Take it easy, man. That's awesome, man. You guys are getting C200s.
Oh,
That's
man,
exciting.
It's exciting. Well, you've been getting us all stoked up watching all your videos.
You know, it's something that he mentioned about like buying a camera that's essentially 2 years old. If I had to do it over again today, that would be the camera that I would buy.
Right.
And it makes me happy because I'm still like in that honeymoon stage, even though it's been over a year. You know, as you buy gear, and we're in that age where so much gear is coming out and new stuff. Again, we talked about that fear of missing out, you know, that FOMO. It's like I'm good, like I'm happy.
Right.
Especially seeing that comparison footage with the Arri Alexa Mini. It's like, what other camera can get me that close, right, without spending $50,000?
And we're not really expecting it to be updated soon. You know, the C100 Mark II has been out for a decade or whatever. I mean, a very, very long time. Like these cameras have lasted. Same with C300. So the next update will probably be C100 Mark III.
Well, C300 is the rumored one
with
with
its
its supposed 6 or 8K sensor.
But so there'll be no update to the C200 soon. At least 3 or 4 more years, I bet.
For sure.
Yeah, I think we'll be safe. Armando, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for getting us excited about cinematography and filmmaking. And
Thanks, man.
Where can people find you on the internet?
They can usually find me at Mondo Bytes pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube, of course.
And links in show notes too.
Thanks, man.